Okay, so here's why I love this session. We go from Nicole, who's doing work in oceans, to Habib, who also does research in oceans in a totally different way. So for this session, this is the only place where you can see so many different types of science in one spot. So this is a whole other way of looking at the ocean. So I'm thrilled to have with us Habib Dagher, who's the director of the Advanced Structures and Composites Center and the Bath Ironworks Professor of Structural Engineering at the University of Maine. I just got to say, to be like the Bath Ironworks professor sounds really cool. Like you are solid with that. Habib is the founding executive director of the Advanced Structures and Composites Center, a National Science Foundation funded research center housed in a 100,000 square foot laboratory with over 180 full and part-time personnel. The UMaine Composites Center is a world leader in the development of low-cost advanced materials for infrastructure and energy, known for its award-winning innovations, including the Voltern US 1, how do you say that, 1x8? Volturnus 1/8. I really did read it, I just didn't think there was. Anyway, the first grid-connected floating offshore wind turbine in the US, and the inflatable composite arch bridges known as a bridge in a backpack. The center has worked with over 500 clients worldwide, including 150 Maine-based companies, and has received top national awards for its research. The UMaine Composite Center has also gained national and international reputation for major research and development projects, such as the first modular ballistic protection system, approved by the U.S. Army to protect troops in tents from blast and ballistic threats, development of coated wood technology for blast and hurricane-resistant wood buildings, and the longest carbon fiber composite vessel built for the U.S. Navy known as Mako. In October 2015, Habib was recognized as a 2015 White House Transportation Champion of Change as the primary inventor of a composite arch bridge system. He holds 25 U.S. and international patents, with 8 additional patents pending, so get his autograph today before that price goes up. Welcome, Habib.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here today. Thank you for having me. I want to talk about how we can use offshore wind to heat our homes and fill our cars for the future in the state of Maine. This is the first offshore wind turbine built in the United States. We built it here in Maine at the university in our lab and towed it out to sea and tested it out. This is our lab, the University of Maine. We're only about a few miles away from here. Come and see us. How much does your family spend on energy every year? Do you remember when gas was at $4 a gallon? When the gas was $4 a gallon, you were spending $10,000 a year on energy. And your electricity was only $1,000 worth of that. Heating was $4,000 and gas was $5,000. Gasoline is $5,000. At $2 a gallon today, how much did your family spend on energy? It's about half of that. $500 per year is what you spend today on energy costs. And electricity is only $1,000. Where does that money go? Does it stay in Maine? No, it doesn't. We burn it essentially. We send it away from Maine. It's a tax that we have no control over. So what does that mean for the whole state of Maine? This is data from 2013. $6 billion leave the state of Maine every year in fossil fuel prices. As Nicole told you, each one of us is responsible for 13 tons of carbon dioxide in the air every year here in the state of Maine. 13 tons of us, every one of us. Okay. So can we do better than that? Now, $6 billion is twice the state budget. The annual state budget is $3 billion. That leaves the state of Maine. How much does it take to power the whole state of Maine? 2.4 gigawatts. It takes about a gigawatt is roughly a nuclear power plant. So 2 gigawatts power the whole state of Maine today. How much offshore wind do we have off the coast of Maine? 156 gigawatts. 156 nuclear power plants worth of wind blowing off our coast that we're not doing anything about. We're energy rich, but we're not paying attention to it. So what we're trying to do at the University of Maine is figure out how to bring this energy cost effectively back to the state of Maine and keep our energy dollars in Maine. This is what offshore wind looks like in Europe today. Europe is the world leader in offshore wind. They have 8,000 megawatts of offshore wind installed. The UK, Germany, Denmark, and others. But these things are huge, okay? Each one of these turbines has 6 megawatts. They're about 500-foot rotor diameters, the latest machines. 1 2/3 football field is the diameter of each machine. Each machine can produce enough power for 3,000 homes. These are big, big machines. So what are we doing different? This is our floating wind turbine that we designed at the University of Maine. And this is the day we put it out to sea in Bangor. It's 1/8 scale of a full-size turbine. Look at the people under it. That's 1/8 scale of a full-size turbine. The whole thing is made out of concrete, and yes, it floats. Okay, it floats because it's all full of air inside. It's like a big concrete inner tube. Okay, and then we tow it out to sea. We tow it out to sea, as you see. We towed it out to sea, moved it to the seabed using 3 mooring lines, just like you have on a boat, and brought the power back to shore using an undersea cable. It works. Let me show you how well it works. This is what it looks like. We put it off the coast of Castine, Maine. We show it right, see it right over there. And this is a 50-year storm off the coast of Maine during the wintertime. This 50-year storm, during that 50-year storm, it moved only about 5 degrees off vertical during a 50-year storm. Okay, that's relative to the size of the unit. Okay, so it works. So the next step for us is put 2 huge ones off the coast of Mohegan Island, 6-megawatt machines. And these would be about 14 miles from shore. That's what they would look like. Each one taller than the Washington Monument. We're going to test them for 2 years after that. Okay? And then in the 2020s, start building larger units. How many of you have thought about buying an electric car? Now, what if that electricity came from offshore wind? Then wind would be blowing you across the state of Maine, right? Literally, that's what you would be doing. We'll be heating your homes. You can buy SUVs out of electricity today, that run on electricity today. How about heating your home? How many thought about heating your home with electricity? If you did that, actually you can save money. Okay? You can do that by using what we call air-to-air heat pump, which you can buy today and save some money. So let's put all that together. Let us imagine the world in 2020, the 2020s, where we start building offshore wind farms that float off the coast of Maine. And these wind farms have been placed over 20 miles off the horizon. We don't see them from shore because we've all established the Earth is round, right? And when we go about 20 miles off the coast, you don't see them anymore. You drop off beyond the horizon. You don't see them, you don't hear them. And guess what it takes? It takes about 3% of the 156 gigawatt off the coast of Maine to heat every home and fill every car.
So I'm going to take advantage of this and lead with a question. Correct me if I'm wrong, we've had conversations in the past where one of the ways that this could help with cars is that wind that's generating electricity could be used overnight for the cars so it doesn't go to waste. Do I have that right?
That's exactly right.
So that's
the cool thing is most of us use our cars only 1 hour to 2 hours out of 24. The other 22 hours or 23 hours is parked somewhere. It's parked at home or it's parked at work. What if at home and at work you had a plug? Actually, we have a plug in our office. Actually, we have 4 slots for electric cars right in front of our lab. And people are coming in and plugging in. And guess what, though? About 50% of our electricity today comes from natural gas in Maine. The other 25% comes from hydro, and the rest is from burning wood and other things. What if that electricity came from wind off the coast of Maine? Then you're literally filling your car with clean electrons and not putting 13 tons per year of CO2 into the air. Okay? And then you keep your jobs in Maine as well. That's I'm going to go to my next thing. Because you asked the question.
I did ask the question.
So this is legal. So that's $6 billion that leaves the state every year. If half of us bought electric cars in the next 20 years, if half of us started using air-to-air heat pump over the next 20 years, half of that money could stay in Maine. Think about $3 billion staying in Maine, what that could do. Thank you. Yes.
Where does it stand now in terms of competing in price with oil or natural gas?
That's our goal. We have a technology using a floating wind turbine built out of concrete mined here in Maine that we can build here. Our goal is to cost of electricity in the 2020s at 10 cents a kilowatt hour. In the 2020s, we believe we'll be able to compete with the other forms of electricity with no subsidies. And that's the goal of the research. And we're getting closer every day.
How is the ocean cable at 20 miles long? Is that for capital expense and for just other issues?
It's a long extension cord. and what it is and Europe's doing it, and we have it. We have over 40 cables today in the state of Maine between the mainland islands. We have a bunch of islands. I mean, how do we get electricity out there? Well, we have undersea cables, right? We've been doing this for 40 years. It's no different. It's the same technology.
Could you talk a little bit about who would own the turbines and what would what's the structure like?
Whoever wants to pay for them, right?
Yes.
It's typically the private sector would come in and then build this infrastructure. The state of Maine can actually decide to do that. We can create the state of Maine and Maine Power Authority. That's one model, just like Hydro-Quebec. You know what Hydro-Quebec is, right?
Yeah.
Who owns Hydro-Quebec?
Quebec.
Quebec owns it, right? Quebec owns Hydro-Quebec, and they sell electricity real cheap to the people in Quebec at 5 and 6 cents a kilowatt hour, and they sell the rest of us electricity at much higher prices. We could do the same thing. We could do the same thing. So who owns them are the developers, just like any developer that would own a nuclear power plant, or they would own a hydro plant, or they would own a natural gas plant. It's just private developers typically. But the state could do it too.
Well, and so what kind of investment capital would it require to get this?
It depends on how big the farm is, right? Typically a 1 gigawatt farm, which is a nuclear power plant with the wind, a gigawatt roughly costs about $3 to $4 billion. That would be the price of the capital investment to build it. And that would create about 5,000 jobs to build that.
Okay.
Yes.
So the floating platform is private research, and that's done in Maine, and it's on the proposal. What about
I carry that everywhere. Yes. What about the
What
blades?
about the blades and the turbines?
Right now, the hull, which is from here down, this hull is a floating hull we're talking about. It looks like a trimaran, 1, 2, 3 columns that you float, that floats. Each one of these hulls is 30 feet in diameter, 120 feet tall. So each one of these columns that you see at the end and the corners is bigger than the biggest building in downtown Bangor. And we've got 3 of them to prop up the unit. So the hull is the biggest part of the investment, and all of it will be done in Maine. Today, the tower can be done in Maine as well. We have a composite design for the tower that can be produced here in Maine. The blades are made out of composites to be produced in Maine as well. Now, the turbines, we don't have any turbine producers in the state of Maine because there's no market today in Maine. Okay, these turbines are about 6 megawatt machines we're looking at. In order for us to actually bring in a turbine manufacturer to the state of Maine, we've got to show that we're really serious about making this happen over the next 10 to 20 years. They'll come and invest in a turbine factory. But everything else we can do today. So the blades we can do today, the tower we can do today, and the hull we can do today in Maine. That answers your question.
And we're going to call it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you.